Hey there, welcome back. I'm Flat Rate Mechanic, and today we're diving into a question that's on the minds of many car owners. Are you getting scammed, or do you really need new brake pads? It's a crucial topic because sometimes you might be told you need brake work when you actually don't. So let's break this down together and figure out how to know if your brakes need attention or if you can hold off a bit longer. First off, let's talk about understanding brake pad measurements. You might be surprised to learn that when it comes to brake pads, the thickness of the friction material is what really counts. A brand new brake pad is typically about a 1/4 inch thick, which is roughly 6.35 millimeters. Now, I measured a customer's brake pad recently, and it was sitting at about 6 millimeters. That's pretty much right in the sweet spot. They still have almost a full brake pad's worth of material left. So if someone's telling you that you need brakes, it's worth knowing how much material you have left before you just take their word for it. Now, when do brake pads actually need replacement? Industry standards suggest you should consider replacing them when they get down to around 3 millimeters of friction material thickness. Some mechanics might say 2 millimeters is the absolute minimum, but personally, I wouldn't wait that long. You definitely don't want to wait until you hear grinding noises, which means you've gone metal on metal and damaged your rotors. At that point, you're looking at a much bigger expense. So let's put it in perspective. If new pads are around 6.35 millimeters and you should replace them at 3 millimeters, that means if your pads are sitting at 6 millimeters, you're right in the middle of their service life. You've still got plenty of miles left before needing a replacement. All right, let's move on to signs that your brake pads might be worn out. You can't always measure your pads yourself, so here's what to listen and look for. First up, if you hear a high-pitched squeaking when you apply the brakes, that's often an indicator. Many brake pads have a wear indicator, which is a little metal tab that makes contact with the rotor when the pad gets too thin, kind of like an early warning system. But if you start hearing grinding sounds, that's a serious issue. At that point, you're damaging your rotors, and that repair is going to cost you. Other signs to keep an ear out for include your car pulling to one side when braking, a brake pedal that feels different, maybe it's softer or requires more pressure to stop, and vibrations or pulsing in the brake pedal. These could indicate warped rotors or severely worn pads. And of course, if it's taking longer to stop than usual, you definitely need to address that. Now let's talk about costs. If you're considering doing this yourself, you're looking at parts costing anywhere from $50 to $200, depending on the quality of pads you decide to buy. Budget pads might run you about $30 to $75 per axle, while higher-end OEM or premium aftermarket pads can set you back $75 to $150 or more. If you decide to take it to a shop, expect to pay for labor, which could range anywhere from $150 to $400 per axle, depending on where you go. Now, if you're feeling a bit handy, doing it yourself could save you a good chunk of money. Just make sure you have the necessary mechanical skills. Remember, brake work is critical for safety, so you want to be sure you know what you're doing. Let's wrap things up with how you can check your own brake pads. The easiest way is to look through the spokes of your wheel. You can often see the brake caliper and the outer brake pad. If the friction material looks less than a 1/4 inch thick, you're nearing replacement time. If you want a closer look, you'll need to remove the wheel. Always use proper jack stands and safety precautions. Never work under a car that's only supported by a jack. When the wheel's off, you can see both pads clearly and measure them more accurately. In summary, if you're measuring around 6 millimeters, you've got plenty of life left in those pads. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise if their numbers don't add up. Know your measurements, trust your instincts, and don't get scammed. Thanks for listening today. Remember to keep an ear out for those warning signs, and don't hesitate to take a closer look at your brake pads. I hope this helps you feel more confident about your car's maintenance. I'll catch you in the next one.